Hey, welcome back for the final video in the Getting Started series. This time we're going to cover just one last thing that might be bugging you just a bit, which is, hey, how about if we do just a little bit of code, huh? Okay, so this time we're going to continue with the Hello World patch where we've been working this whole time, and we're going to just change a few lines of code to see how we can bring meaning very, very quickly. Before we start, just a quick note about the tools you'll be using. Qubed Peas is not meant as an editor. There is no editor to it. So you're going to use any tools that you're used to using when you develop applications. You can use Eclipse or TextPad or Notepad or anything that you're used to using. If you're not used to using anything, then maybe you'll want to go out on the web and find a quick text editor that can do the job. Let's get started. Okay, so we're starting from where we were last in the Hello World patch. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull up terminal, and I'm going to change directory back to our patch. And again, if we look inside of our patch, we'll see that we have that server file, and I'm going to run node server to get our server started. Again, I'm going to take that URL and put it into our browser. And here we are. This is our patch running just like it was last time. Hello pod is what we created last time. This time around, we're going to create another pod just to keep things separate. And we'll call this pod the active pod, because we're going to do a little bit of interactivity in this programming. All right, we have active pod over here. It's selected. And now we want to create a UI. Okay, let's take a breath for a second and talk about UIs. We're going to create a UI. We did this in the Hello World application, and now we're about to do it again. What exactly does it mean to create a UI? Basically, with a UI, you end up with the styling or the CSS, the layout, which is the HTML or the template, and then the control object, which is JS. That control object controls the whole canvas. But what we really want is focused control inside of that canvas. So we create little view objects. Every text area or label or field or button is a view object to us. And that allows us very discrete control over the view elements that you'll find inside of any given view. Okay, enough of this. Let's get back to finishing up our Hello World application with just a bit of interactivity. Go ahead and hit the New UI button. And this new UI, we're going to call it Active UI. We're going to disregard requests and callbacks one more time. That comes a little bit later. And we're going to just add one controllable element to our view. So we've created a UI here that's going to be blank, and we want something in there that we can control. And that's going to be a view object. In this view object, we'll call it our label. And before we hit create, let's take a look at how this label is being created by default. This label is going to be a div, and it's going to have no action handlers associated with it. We can actually, in this class builder, at this moment, attach different action handlers. So let's attach the click handler to this object, and in the end, we'll have a div that is also listening to clicks and tells us when it was clicked. Let's take a look. Hit create. And now we have our active UI, and if we view our active UI, our placeholder text is still here. It says our label, but when we click it, it's not doing much. So let's take a look at changing that real quickly. I'm going to pull up my text editor and the files that were created. So we go into ppods in our patch. And in ppods, you'll notice we now have active pod up here. Okay, inside of active pod, we've created a JS file in the view controllers. That's the JavaScript file that's going to be doing a lot of our action control. And also in the templates directory, you'll see the template file that we created. So let's pull that template file over to our text editor very quickly and find where it says our label. Now, templates are very special. They have a lot of stuff to them because they're doing test work as well as the actual template description itself. We'll get into all of this far deeper in future videos, but all you need to know right now is what you're really creating is this UI. This is what's actually being used in the application. So we're going to change our label to hello. And then reload our browser and we'll notice, of course, great, we have hello, but it's still not doing anything when we click on it. And that's very simple to change because we've already hooked in all of the control systems for this. So let's take a look at that. Inside of the view controller, you'll go into ActivePod, into the JS folder, into the view controller folder, where all of our view controllers actually live. The TVC is the templated view controller that was created. And we'll drag ActiveUI TVC over. And if you scroll down to the spot where it says user actions, about line 100 in this file, you'll notice that this is our label click. So once our label gets clicked, something is possible. We want to be able to come in here under your code and enter our label, which was the name of the object that we created, the view object. We gave it the name of our label, and we want to set its HTML to world. And that's it. So we save it, we rerun it in the browser, we click hello, and it changes to world. It's that simple. All right, congratulations, you made it to the end of getting started with Qubed Peas. Very simple stuff. With one line of code, you made an interactive web system. It may not seem like it now, but that's a true component. It can be redeployed as many times as you might need, and with just a little bit more stuff in there, a few more view objects maybe, you can really impart some real meaning just with a few lines of code. And that's really what Qubed Peas is after. It's getting you to answer your problem, not all of the parts of how to set up the system and link all the files together so that you can solve your problem. All right, from here, we're going to go a little bit deeper into all of these little bits that maybe at this point still seem a little bit complicated. Like, okay, we have all these structures, we open some of these files, and they're really dense. There's a lot of things in there. Are they all important? Are they not? Why would we use a pod versus a UI? What are these other classes for? How do all these things link together? When do I pack? What parts do I pack? How do I deploy? Is there a real build system here? What happens if I need to use a third-party library? How do I create a table? How about multiple things that can be selected? Hey, I didn't see anything about images. How do I run tests? I need to write more tests. Where's the test data go? How do I deploy to different levels? I need to understand how you style. What is this common pod all about? So why do I need a patch again? Okay, all right. So listen, I know there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of depth to be had here, as you can see. Qubed Peas is a really dense system, but all it's trying to do is govern the way that your project is linked together. That's really all it's trying to do. Everything else inside of there, all of this magic that looks amazing when you open up one of these big, huge files, is really just your code. You can write anything you want in there. In the next series, we're going to go deeper on each one of these questions and a lot more. As always, check out qubedpeas.com for more information or to get started. And please, follow along as we go beyond hello in the next video series. I'm going to the next video series now. See you there.